we have constructed a kind of a hypothetical map to see how the microRNAs come up in specific tissues, like in the root tissues there is an increase of 398, which acts on the superoxide dismutase. This is to reduce the redox levels, or the other specifically the other molecules coming up in the shoot or in the apical regions. So we have kind of categorized them with respect to the tissues, but they still need to be mapped on a developmental or time scale before we can start reaching any conclusions. But this is a kind of a hypothetical map that we could derive at looking at what trying to understand what is happening in Pokali, which is allowing the plant to grow happily in a saline environment, vis-a-vis another plant like Pusa basmati, which gets heavily affected by salinity stress. So some of the papers to show, but many of them have been published. Now, likewise, the work has been done in response to high temperature stress. I am not going to get into the details of the work done here, but a lot of validations and a lot of time kinetics were done with specific miRNA molecules. And this led us now to recognize common microRNA nodes which were coming up in response to high temperature and salt stress. These are the common nodes. These nodes would operate in response to both high temperature stress and salt stress, coming alone or individually, yet the deregulation or the regulation of each microRNA in response to a step into a response to a particular stress will be very different. And if you look at the targets that they are regulating, there are the ROS enzymes, there are energy converters, there are hormone regulators here, and different those which regulate flowering. And this is important because when we have a plant growing in stress, what we see is a reduction in flowering, and this is an important lead which can be followed further to understand how these common nodes are differentially regulated in response to different environmental stresses, and what is their impact in response to the plant. And if you remember in the first slide, one of the first beginning slides, I had mentioned that temperature has a differential response on the growth of the plant. While there is the nighttime increase in temperature seems to be more detrimental as compared to a daytime increase in temperature. So what is it? Is that the presence or absence of light has got something to do with it? And we have important leads now. One of the manuscripts is under communication, which shows that light is actually playing a role there, because light is constantly there. Plants cannot survive without light. And some of the light signals also overlap with the stress signals to influence the physiology of the plant. And our focus, of course, is to look at how the microRNAs are getting deregulated, to understand if we can understand even one of these nodes, the functioning of or the regulation of one of these nodes in response to the different stresses, it will be a lot of knowledge gained. So again, based on our studies on heat stress, on salt stress, and different developmental stages, we have built hypothetical maps of how particular microRNAs can be coming up or going down with different stages, and to affect the plant development. And a lot of this data is still under validation. Now, since a lot of data has been generated and our hands are amply full, we decided to put or compile this data in the form of a web server. This is freely available from the ICGB website, and this is called ARMOR, for a RISE microRNA mRNA interaction resource. It carries a lot of information on the different microRNAs on their associated transcripts. It carries information on different microRNAs from 7 Indian plant varieties, and is freely available to use. You can pick and choose what it can be applied for. what we have done is we have used some of this data. I'll just tell you how we have branched from here. We have used some of this data to understand the sugar accumulation using sorghum and sugarcane as the crops, because sugar accumulation is affected both in sorghum and sugarcane. They are closely related cereals and provide an excellent system. Again, lot of mapping of microRNAs and targets is underway, and we are trying to understand how it is affecting, because sugar is the source of energy, whether it is in the form of seed, in cereals, or in the sugar content of sugarcane, and is heavily influenced by salt. So I purposefully included one of the slide prepared by Neha, my student, and she has done some lot of good work on microRNAs. And while we were having this panel of microRNAs, and just as an explanation, we can categorize them into two kinds of molecules: those which are conserved between plants, and those which are non-conserved or unique to specific species. So like for rice also, we have specific MIRs which are unique to specific species. And these unique molecules are normally targeting the enzymes and the receptors normally, generally. And whereas the conserved molecules conserved between different plants are the ones which are targeting the transcription factors. So while a lot of interest is there on understanding this particular interaction between the conserved microRNAs and the downstream transcription factors, because this will impact hundreds of genes, we also had some specific interest to look at the unique microRNAs and how they are influencing what role they are playing in influencing the physiology of the plant. So one of these microRNAs were picked up and found to be very specific to rice. Interestingly, it was seen that it showed even differences in the genomic locations when we started look between the Japonica and the Indica rices. There were larger number of alleles in the Japonica varieties as compared to the Indica varieties. So initially we thought that it has probably got something to do with genome sequencing. Either the chromosomes have not been fully mapped, that could be the reason, or the sequences still need to be understood. But then we did a parallel study using a lot of different rice varieties. This was a collaborative initiative with an Australian group, and what we found that indeed the number of genes of this microRNA varies across rice genomes, and and we have leads to show that it impacts the grain physiology and the stress response of these rice varieties. The lot of this data is still unpublished, so I will not get into the details on it. But what we did was we started raising some transgenic with these with this particular microRNA, and to show you the slides, you can see the difference in the plants. You can see these plants are much more denser as compared to these ones, and the ones in the arrow are the microRNA transgenics as compared to the wild type plants. And just to show you a picture of one of the maturing plants, so this is what a mature or transgenic plant would look like as compared to a normal plant. It's more robust, gives us more seed. So we are still trying to understand the mechanisms behind this, but then this is just to show that a lot of this research has helped us identify a microRNA which has the potential to boost yield of rice plants. This manuscript is also under publication, so I will not spend too much time on the slide now. And also we have been talking for a long time, so I should end not without thanking my team members, those who are there in the lab presently, and for those who have been associated with my group, because it is because of them that I am speaking with you here. And of course, I need to also acknowledge the funding agencies and my mentors who have helped me in this journey. Thank you so much. So I would be happy to take questions if any.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
We collect few questions for you. You can find in the chat box. There is a chat option just beside the green screen.
Okay, maybe I have to stop sharing.
Yes, no problem. You can stop.
one by Kritika Sharma. How can we
Yes.
confirm which particular microRNA regulates the expression of a particular gene? Okay, so microRNA action is highly sequence dependent. So from the sequence of the microRNA, there will be a reverse complementary site in the target. And based on this, several easy computational scripts or algorithms can be designed. Even manual searches can be done if you are using only one microRNA at a time, but that will be a little too tedious. So a lot of computational tools are available which can help you identify the targets of these microRNAs. Another question is by Dinesh, which says, can we use rice microRNA data in sugarcane for drought stress? And is there any problem of genome complexity on microRNA study? Okay, so a lot of synteny is there between the grass family. And since microRNAs are coded by the genomes, it is expected that at least the conserved microRNAs will be there between the different plant species. There may be slight sequence variation depending upon the genome. There could be SNPs or there could be variations in the precursor structures. There could be variations in the promoters as well, which will have implications in their expression patterns. But over and above that, a simple answer to the straightforward answer to the question is yes, you can use these sequences to identify molecules in your data sets. But lot of validations, experimental validations would have to be done to confirm that they actually exist. And also on the nature of study cannot be directly replicated. You will have to design your experiments carefully to answer the questions that you have raised. I hope I'm able to answer this question. So I'll take another one. How can we use microRNA data of virus resistance in the development of plants' resistance to mycoplasma? This cannot be a straightforward answer. RNAi per se is the first line of defense for resistance to any kind of pathogen. There would be involvement of siRNAs, microRNAs, tRNAs, and other molecules which will act in together to regulate the resistance versus the susceptibility response. Also, we need to take keep in mind here the R genes or which forms the other the R AVR genes which are also involved. So this is a complex. This is a full subject in itself. A lot of study has to be done. But yes, what I can say is microRNAs are deregulated in response to virus infection, and some of these deregulations are directly responsible for the phenotypic abnormalities that are observed in the leaves, in the flowers, in the seed, so on and so forth. Other than that, there can be virus encoded microRNAs which will help the virus in invading the host. There could be a host encoded microRNAs which can be acting in favor of the plants to resist the virus infection. There could be some of the host microRNAs which could be helping the virus. There are many things in this, so a thorough knowledge of the literature would actually be required before I can fully answer this question. Okay. Coming to the next one. Can we use this technology for direct yield improvement? Of course, yes. One example I have shown. The acceptability of these plants, of course, is like any acceptability of any other transgenic plant, because this is transgenic, because it comes with the antibiotic selection markers, it comes with foreign promoters. But yes, this technology can be used for yield improvements. The other line is what we are trying to work on is the identification of microRNA markers which can be used for breeding approach. That can be another approach. But then these markers, a lot of thorough study has to be done in identification and acceptability again for these markers. But the potential is definitely there. All right. So Jyotsna has, what are the other ways to validate miRNA except qPCR? So other than, see, I will not say qPCR, it's a generic term. Other than PCR-based technologies, there are different PCR-based technologies. You can do a direct Nathan, you can do a Nathan plotting, there can be cloning and sequence validation. These are the classical methods that are available. Is there any miRNA modification that has been reported to have negative impact in plants? miRNA modifications have been reported. miRNAs do undergo post-processing, I will call post-processing modifications, because miRNAs are processed from their transcripts. There can be addition of bases at the ends, either 5' or 3'. There can be deletions of bases at the ends, and you will understand that since the first 10 or the first 12 nucleotides are very important in target recognition, so any alteration in the 5' terminus will have a direct impact on the target. But it will be too early to say whether they have any negative impact in plants, because the understanding of these modulations and the stress-induced modulations of these microRNAs and the functionality still needs to be understood before categorizing the impact as a negative or a positive impact. It will definitely have an impact, but it will be too preliminary to categorize that impact as a negative or a positive impact. So I'll move on to the next question, which says, do you know of any miRNA which are present only in abiotic stress tolerant and not in sensitive genotypes? Yes, there are definitely microRNAs I will just reword your statement, which are present in the tolerant species and whose expression is either highly reduced or they are absent from the sensitive genotypes, and vice versa. These changes do happen. They may vanish, or they may, or I shouldn't say vanish, they may disappear from one tissue, appear in another tissue. They can be overexpressed in a particular tissue. Why I don't want to use this term present and non-present, because sometimes there are limitations of our detection techniques. We cannot find a particular microRNA in a particular tissue, probably because it is present in quantities which are too less to be detected. Its value may not be zero. It can be zero, but it need not necessarily be zero. So we should be very careful, because we have limitations unless and until we totally rule that out. But yes, there are drastic changes in the expression of microRNAs, which can give us an appearance that it is coming up in a specific genotype and it is going away in another genotype, and its relation to tolerance and sensitivity to a particular stress has been studied. So there are a lot of reports on that.